Detroit, once crowned the motor capital of the world, is now facing a painful reckoning. In 2025 alone, more than 38,000 American auto workers lost their jobs. Factories across the Midwest fell silent as production lines closed, leaving behind hollowed towns and families forced into uncertainty and debt. The pain is not limited to workers. Consumers too are shouldering the burden. New car prices have jumped by $5,000 to $10,000 in just a year, pushing millions of Americans out of the new vehicle market and into the already strained world of used cars, where even decade-old models now sell at inflated prices. At the very same time, Canada is experiencing the opposite trend. Automakers pulling back from the US are pouring billions into Canadian factories, reshaping the balance of power in North America's auto industry. The question now is clear: why would 5 of Asia's biggest automakers turn their backs on what was once the most profitable car market in the world? Toyota's $19 billion collapse. At the center of the crisis is Toyota, the longtime king of the American highway. For decades, Toyota dominated as the best-selling foreign brand in the US, synonymous with reliability and value. But in 2025, the company has become the prime casualty of new tariffs. Under former President Trump's 25% tariff wall, Toyota is facing projected losses of nearly $19 billion in a single fiscal year, erasing years of growth. Its electric vehicle expansion, once the core of its North American strategy, has stalled. Supply chains that once stretched smoothly across Asia, Mexico, and the US are now tangled by tariffs, delays, and rising costs. Market share is shrinking, and customers are walking away. Faced with sticker shock, many Americans have turned to cheaper used cars, leaving showrooms empty. Toyota, once untouchable, is now weighing the unthinkable, scaling back or even leaving the US in favor of friendlier markets like Canada and Europe. Nissan's $5.30 billion record loss. If Toyota's decline illustrates the scale of the disruption, Nissan's collapse shows the depth. Once North America was called the company's golden land, but by 2025, that dream has soured into a $5.3 billion annual loss, the largest in Nissan's history. Production of staples like the Pathfinder and Frontier has been halted in Canada. Operations in Mexico, which once exported over 320,000 vehicles a year to the US, now hang in limbo. From Detroit to Guadalajara, decades of investment risk unraveling. Nissan has become the most visible symbol of forced withdrawal, not leaving because it wants to, but because staying has become impossible. Hyundai's double crisis. For Hyundai, tariffs were only part of the story. In Georgia, immigration raids led to the arrest of 475 Korean workers, employees critical to the company's EV program. Overnight, flagship projects collapsed, and the promise of 8,500 new American jobs vanished. Financially, the company reported a $66 million loss in the second quarter of 2025, with operating profit plunging by 16%. For a brand once celebrated as one of America's fastest-growing challengers, the reversal was swift. The crisis even escalated into an international incident, forcing South Korea's president to step in diplomatically. Hyundai's experience shows how quickly corporate struggles can turn into geopolitical crises, destabilizing not just factories, but entire communities and even alliances between nations. Subaru's US dependence turns to liability. No automaker was more reliant on the US than Subaru. Over 70% of its global sales came from the American market, a dependence unmatched in the industry. For years, that reliance was a strength, but tariffs turned it into a fatal weakness. Forecasts now predict Subaru could lose as much as $2.5 billion in fiscal 2026. Its core customers, middle-class families, are being priced out. Once affordable models have turned into luxury items, forcing buyers toward competitors or pushing them to hold on to aging cars for longer. Unlike larger rivals, Subaru cannot easily pivot to Europe or Southeast Asia. Its identity and infrastructure are tied too tightly to the US, leaving it cornered between rising costs, shrinking demand, and no quick escape. Mazda's collapse and China's rise. Mazda, often considered a niche brand, might have seemed too small to face the full brunt of tariff chaos. But in 2025 it became clear that no company was immune. Exports from Mexico to the US, a backbone of Mazda's supply chain, collapsed by 54% in just 4 months. Plants designed to serve American buyers stood idle. Production for Canada was redirected in desperation, but profits still sank. Meanwhile, a new threat emerged. Low-cost Chinese electric vehicles began flooding markets worldwide. These affordable imports eroded Mazda's already thin margins, leaving the company fighting for survival. Mazda's struggles show that in this trade war, size is no shield. Even small players can be dragged into the crossfire. Families caught in the crossfire. For American families, the consequences are stark. Walking into a dealership in 2025 feels like stepping into another economic reality. Prices for new vehicles are up thousands of dollars across the board. Even US-built cars cost an average of $3,000 more than a year earlier. Financing has become another uphill battle. Monthly payments that once fit middle-class budgets now push households to the brink. For many, a new car is no longer possible. Instead, they turn to the used market, which has spiraled into chaos. Vehicles more than a decade old now sell for thousands above their book value. SUVs vanish from lots in days, while even basic sedans command premium prices. For the first time in decades, a reliable used car has become as much a luxury as a new one. Meanwhile, factory towns across the Midwest are collapsing. As auto jobs disappear, the restaurants, schools, and shops that depended on steady paychecks are failing too. Entire communities are being hollowed out. The irony is striking. Tariffs meant to protect American workers and consumers have left them both paying more for less. Canada's gain, Detroit's loss. As US factories go dark, Canada is rising. Ottawa has become the new magnet for automaker investment. Plants once destined for Detroit are now breaking ground in Ontario and Quebec. For Detroit, the fallout is devastating. Once the global capital of car making, it now faces empty lots and silent assembly lines. Market leadership, once assumed permanent, has slipped away in a matter of years. The global industry has taken notice. The US, long viewed as the safest and most profitable auto market, is being recast as unstable and unpredictable. Final warning: the retreat of 5 Japanese and Korean automakers is not just about cars. It signals a broader shift in America's place in the global economy. If automakers no longer see the US as a safe harbor, what does that mean for other industries, technology, energy, agriculture, that depend on international trust and investment? This could be the first domino in a much larger unraveling. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll keep you updated as we go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.